Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm originally from Scotland, but I've now got a fabric shop in Birmingham, and for my creative tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a tablet cover out of an old pair of jeans. So this might be a pair of jeans that the zip's broken or they've got a hole somewhere, and you don't really want to repair them. You can turn them into something else, which is this lovely tablet cover here. So we've got a button tab at the top as well to keep it closed, and we're going to do some top stitching around the edge that just gives a bit of extra cushioning and protection for your tablet. So what you need to do first of all is make a template. So you're going to make a paper template like this, and you're going to cut out some lining fabric here. So I've chosen a sort of snazzy fabric. You could just reuse some other old clothes that you've got as well, maybe like a shirt or something like that. To make your paper template, you first of all need your tablet, and you're going to measure it and then add on a certain amount for seam allowances. So if I measure my tablet here, mine measures 13.5 centimetres wide and it is 20 centimetres tall. So I'm going to add on 4 centimetres to those dimensions. So that'll mean my template is 17.5 centimetres wide and 24 centimetres tall. And that's the size that I'll cut out of all my 3 fabrics. So I've got my denim, my lining and my wadding as well. What I'm going to do is incorporate the pocket of the jeans into it as well. It just means maybe you could keep your headphones or something in there, so it's quite handy. And you want to just make sure that the top edge of your paper pattern is parallel with the top of the pocket, just so that the pocket's square onto the bit of rectangle that you'll end up cutting out. So you're just going to pin that onto the jeans. Just make sure you're only getting one layer, because we only want to use this back leg just now. Okay, so once you've pinned all the way around, then it's time to cut out as well, and that extra amount that we added on to the size of the tablet will allow for the seam allowance, so we're just cutting out exactly the same size as our template. Okay, so there we have one side of the tablet cover with a lovely pocket already built in, and then now we just need to use another part of the leg of the jeans to cut out our backing piece as well. Okay, so now it's time to start sewing all of our layers together like this. So we've got the right side of the denim facing each other, so that once we turn it inside out you can see it from the outside, and then we're going to put our wadding on top like that. So you want to pin all of these layers together. Just make sure all of your edges line up like that. Pin them together all the way around, and you're going to sew down one side, along the bottom and back up the other side, and we're going to use a 1 centimetre seam allowance, so you need to sew 1 centimetre away from the edge of the fabric. So we're going to be going down one side, along the bottom, and then back up the other side. We don't want to bulk the sides out too much. We'll come along the bottom. So once you've got the outside all sewn together, it's time to work on the lining. So take your 2 lining pieces, just place them right sides together, and then this time we're only going to sew down the sides, and that's so that when we sew the whole thing together we can turn it inside out through the bottom. So it's just these 2 long sides here, again with a 1 centimetre seam allowance, just down both the sides. So once you have the lining sewn together, we're going to turn that the right way round. So flip it out like this, and then we're going to place that inside our denim little pocket that we've got here. So you just push it right to the inside like that. And then what we also need to include at this point is the little closing tab that we're going to make. So this little thing here to fasten it at the top. You're going to just be cutting out the section that's got the buttonhole already in it. And I'm going to make mine about 12 centimetres long. So you can just cut off this little belt loop here. Just cut that straight off, we don't need that. And then just cut down the side of the waistband. Okay, so if I just cut it loose, and then we're going to measure it so that it is 12 centimetres, like so, just to trim it down. So this little closing tab is going to go on the side that doesn't have a pocket, and you want to tuck it in between the lining and the denim, like that. Make sure it's in the middle, so between your two seams here. Just line it up there. You can either measure it or you can do it by eye. And then we're going to pin all the way around the top, so you get the seam of the lining to line up with the seam of your denim at the side. Just so that it spreads out the bulk at the sides, just make sure you open your seam allowances out like that. Otherwise it can be quite a lot for the machine to sew through. So I'm putting my pins in pointing down the way like that, just because they're a little bit easier to take out as I sew. Okay, so now we're ready to sew all the way around the top. Again, it's going to be a 1 centimetre seam allowance, and what you might find easier is to take off the little accessory drawer at the front of your sewing machine, so that you're left with a bit of a narrow arm to get the cover round. So you can start anywhere, it doesn't matter too much because you're just going to be going all the way around in a circle until you get back to the start again. When you feel that you're getting to where that tab is, that you put in between all the layers, what you can do is just reverse back over it again, just so that it's extra secure and that you've sewn over it more than once. Okay, so when you get back to the beginning, just make sure you've taken all of your pins out, and then at the very bottom corners here, I'm going to get you to just trim them off like that, just so that it gets rid of some of the extra bulk at the bottom. And then because we left our lining open here, we can just turn the whole thing inside out through that. And then just push it into the bottom corner so you get the full shape of your sleeve. There we go. And then you're going to have your little closing tab just popping out the top there. So what you want to do now is just give it a little bit of a press down that side along the bottom, and we're going to do the same on the lining as well. And then when you get to the very bottom of the lining, we're going to just tuck these raw edges in so that they are not going to be visible at all. So if you just turn them under about 1 centimetre to 1.5 centimetres, just fold them to the inside. And then to close this gap up, we're just going to sew very, very close to this edge. You could choose to hand sew as well if you wanted, but it's probably a little bit quicker just to do it on the machine. There we go, so that's closed all of that up, and then we're just going to push our lining to the inside, and then just so that it sits a little bit flatter again, just around that opening at the top, we're just going to iron it again, just so it sits nice and flat. You don't want your lining fabric sort of spilling out over the top. So for this next bit, because you're going through quite a lot of layers of fabric, especially at the top where you've also got your seam allowances as well, you might have to do a few of the stitches manually on the machine. So to do that, all you do is just turn the hand wheel yourself and then just move the fabric along a little bit, because sometimes it can be quite thick for the machine to grab onto. Okay, so the last and final bit is just to sew your button on. So you want to make sure before you sew on that the button you choose actually fits through the buttonhole that's already there as your waistband. I think both of these ones do. I think I'll choose this one. So just fold the tab over so that it's sitting nice and snug, and then you can figure out the point at where you want to sew your button. So it's going to be at the bottom of the buttonhole here, so you can just stick a little pin in that for the time being to mark it. And then you want to get your needle and thread like that. So we'll do a little stitch on the spot just to anchor our thread, and you want to make sure that you're not sewing the pocket closed at this point, so just sew through that top bit of fabric. Okay, so once your button is nice and secure, just bring the needle out through the top of the fabric but underneath the button, wrap it round a few times, wrap it round again, and just put the needle through that loop. It just helps to knot it off. We'll do that a couple of times. And you're finished. You can slide your tablet in like that, do the button up, and you have a lovely little cover with your tablet nice and safe inside, and you've made good use of an old pair of jeans as well. So I hope that's inspired you to give it a go.